Welcome to the Rick Helps Real Estate Show. I'm going to talk about these California fires and what the possible impact is for us in Arizona. And one thing that I want you to do right away before you sign a contract if you're a buyer, and then we're going to dive into where our numbers are headed based on where I thought they would be going into the month of February as we're approaching the second week of January now. So let's get started. First, what should you do now? We're going to talk about the impact of these fires in California, but here's what I want you to do if you're a buyer before you sign the contract, because now you've got time when you're looking at a house. You don't have to make that decision in the driveway like you used to. Call your insurance agent. Say, hey, looking at this house, 123 Main Street, can you give me a quote? Because you're going to want to know what you're facing. Now, insurance rates are going to go up. Not immediately. You'll start seeing them coming out, but you don't want that sticker shock. And you don't want that sticker shock after you've paid for an inspection. You have a 10-day inspection period, so you're going to pay for that inspection, have the 10-day inspection period, and you're working with your lender. You're already pre-qualified, and the lender's going to say, hey, we need to know who your insurance is. And you go, oh, that's right. Let me call the insurance agent. And you call and you go, holy cow. I can't afford this house now. Well, you may not get your earnest money back if you're making that decision then. So make it a part of your search process. You find the house, you like it, you think you're going to write an offer on it, get that number up front. Call your insurance agent. How much is this going to cost me? Now, looking at the impact of these California fires, it's devastating. It's just absolutely devastating. My son lives in Van Nuys. Friday night, very stressful night for all of us, especially for him. The fire is not moving into Van Nuys. It's going over to Bel Air as of the time of this recording because the winds are blowing away from Van Nuys. But they got a false alert that was issued that said it was time to get ready to evacuate. You know, they have ready, set, go. And in talking to him after he did that, my brother was saying, hey, what are you hearing from your son? I said, he's busy packing. I'm not going to interrupt him with text messages. So I just sat back and waited, talked to him the next day. And he said, you know, it's interesting because he's a resourceful guy, so he doesn't need Dad's advice. Except I did say, don't be that guy that only left with his laptop and his cat. In other words, you got time to get prepared, so, do your best. He said panic sets in. And you find yourself looking at a book and thinking, okay, do I want to take this book? And then you go, wait, I'm taking too long to think about this. Let me get packing. So he said you had to go through that mental process when you were trying to determine what you're going to take with you. So everything's packed up in the living room. They're ready to go if they have to. It doesn't look like they're going to need to do it. But think of all the people that have been displaced in very high-end areas and a lot of businesses that are wiped out all the way from Malibu, way down Pacific Palisades, up by Pasadena. I mean, this is beyond anything we've ever expected. And as we were looking at the real estate numbers and talking on the various shows we've had, we've always said, here's the trend, here's where things are going, but there's always that one thing that shows up out of nowhere that throws everything out of whack. This might be one of those one things. We don't know what the impact's going to be. Now, when you had the big Oakland fires, and especially when you had the fires in Napa Valley, so many people were displaced up there that there was a rental shortage, and then rent just went crazy. People decided to come to Arizona, so I'm out. Now, a lot of them kind of decided to go back, but that could happen here. Las Vegas and Arizona may see a bit of an impact of people relocating over here. Now, that doesn't mean that Mel Gibson and Ben Affleck are going to move to Scottsdale. There's a lot of people displaced over there. A lot of apartments burnt down. A lot of young people hurt in this. So there's going to be an impact, and I don't know what that impact's going to be, but I can guarantee you the first impact that we're going to feel across the country is insurance rates. And insurance rates just far as Kansas, these insurance companies are going to be shelling out millions and billions of dollars, and they got to get the money from somewhere, right? And we're going to see an increase in the national debt again as we try to bail out a lot of the expenses that we have through FEMA and through the state of California. So it's really hard to predict what the end result's going to be, except to say, wow, here we go. I don't know where this is going to end up. And where we are here in Arizona, when I look, I've been saying that we're going to see an increase in listings, which I didn't have to be a rocket scientist to say that. But here we go, because January is when everybody's the most optimistic. Let's list. It looks like I think it's going to be a good year. And based on what I'm seeing and what I'm seeing by the number of new listings that are coming on and the new contracts that are following, the new contracts, they're not chasing them. We're up to about 2,350 now. We've been averaging about 2,400 every 7 days. So we haven't had a breakout in new contracts. If that continues at the rate that it's going, by the end of February, we're going to be up here in the 26,000 range. Now, that's not an alarming number. It's considered average for our market, but it's considered average for our market when our sales are higher. So there's going to be a disconnect there. How big of a disconnect? We won't know until we continue to track it. And it's kind of been backed up a little bit here by the Cromford folks. It said active listings have grown a bit faster. Last year they increased by only 3.3%. Well, we went up by about 4.1%. Listings under contract have grown much slower. Last year they increased 8.4% in January, almost twice the percentage. So we're not seeing that growth. Last year the contract ratio grew from 35.98 to 37, from 35 to 37.76, adding 4.9% during the week. Follows up, said, with mortgage rates still rising, there is little fuel for optimism to run on here. I don't know why I'm stammering here. On the other hand, there's not much to please the pessimist either. In other words, while we're not seeing the sales running up, we're not seeing anything falling off the face of the earth. In fact, there's not much message in these numbers. Perhaps things will get more exciting during the second week. Well, here's rates. They went up. They're sitting there at 7.24. Well, where's the contract ratio? That's pretty low, folks. Our contract ratio is 27.7. Historically, you go all the way back here. Here's another low point there. We're at 35. So the big picture when you're looking at supply and demand is that the success rate for listings is pretty low. So the new listings that are coming on are not going to get a lot of attention, and buyers are looking for bargains. Doesn't mean crash, but it certainly means some pricing adjustments, because there's two different numbers that you're looking at in pricing: the asking price and the sales price. And the sales price has been running about flat to 4%. I think by the 1st of March, we'll be down about 1.12%, somewhere in there, as a sales number. Now, the difference between the asking price and what they get, I think that gap is still out there, and it's going to stay there until people go, ooh, geez, I didn't think January would be this bad. And that's what I think we're going to see. Now, is that going to be made up by an influx of buyers from California? No, not in the first quarter. There isn't anybody that's going to get an insurance settlement and an insurance check and pack up and move to Arizona. You're not going to see anything in Q1, maybe not even in Q2. They may be wrestling with this until June, because a lot of people are just going to get a check that pays off their mortgage, and they're going to choose not to rebuild, and they're just going to scrape the lot and sell the lot. And it'll take at least 2 years to get some of those houses rebuilt, just because of the regulations in California. So it's a very ugly situation. It's just tragic. I love that part of California. I wouldn't live there. Just too expensive for me, too much regulation. But there are a lot of people that chose to live there that have done very well, and that is home, and their home is no more. So we need to really pay attention to how this is going to impact our insurance rates and all kinds of other rates. Now, if you're looking at living in fire-prone areas in Arizona, like Payson, Flagstaff, Prescott, you're going to get hit first. Show Low, Pine Top. These are areas where we have a history of fires, and insurance companies are going to take note of that, and they're going to come gunning for you. So take a look at that. Talk to your insurance agent before you write that contract. And boy, keep your thoughts and prayers out there for the California people. It's still burning tonight, and let's hope it stops anytime soon. you have any questions, please shoot me an email at rick@rickhelps.com. Take care.